the vision. An old Victorian mansion, the kind that's just dripping in allure and gives everyone a really deep and settling feeling when they walk by it. It might have a broken window too. It's not completely run down. It's just waiting with open arms to welcome a new family so it can start its haunts. Welcome to our first Halloween episode. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to turn cardboard into a haunted mansion. I'm starting off by measuring my base. I have an idea of where I want this haunted mansion to be, and I want to make sure that the construction of this whole project is worked around that so that I do not end up in a conundrum. I also like to start off all my projects with a very simple sketch just to give me some sort of direction. It removes some of the guesswork and gives me a path forward to make things a lot easier. I love working with cardboard because it is a very accessible material. I'm honestly hoarding every bit of cardboard that enters my house. I am fitting it into any place that I possibly can just to store it. I love with my glue gun just to add enough glue to keep things for me to be able to make sure I like it. And then once I know that the structure is exactly where I want it to be, I make sure to line the back of every single piece, put a ton more on the foundation, and that really helps to solidify the structure, make it very strong so it's not flimsy and difficult to work with. I also wanted to add this little window on the very top roof. One thing that I learned also with building these little houses is thinking a couple steps ahead when you're doing these things. So for example, I know that I want to put lights in here, and so instead of having to rip this off later down the road when I realize I want to do that, I'm going ahead and already making a hole in the roof to make it easier. I'm also going ahead and painting the entirety of that, so that when I do put a light inside, it's not reflecting the cereal that I use the box from, for example. Another note on cardboard, I like to build the main structures and platforms from the thicker cardboard that you use with like cardboard boxes, but honestly my favorite cardboard to use for like siding, roofing, any of that stuff, because it's more flexible and it's thinner, is honestly like cereal boxes. Cereal boxes or snack boxes. It's a much thinner type of cardboard, and I find it a lot better because it doesn't have all those layers that typical, box cardboard has. Now at this point I was looking at it and I was really disliking the roof. So here is how simple it is to just rip off the roof. No harm, no foul. Again, I'm going to be covering all of this in siding, so any little bit of glue or residue is not going to be an issue. Now I spent a decent amount of time making sure that I made a lot of guidelines for myself. With this project, I want to make sure that it didn't look too caricature-ish, and I wanted the proportions to look pretty realistic, and I wanted to give a lot of thought of where the foundation starts, what each level and how high they should be, where the porch is going to sit in the future, so that I can make sure that when I do draw in all my windows, I can have that all looking decently proportionate. And for that reason, I wanted to make sure that I had all my windows drawn, and I 100% liked it, and I opted for removing the windows afterwards. I found it to be easier, again, since I've put so much hot glue, it's pretty stable that with an X-Acto knife I can cut windows out very easily. Now this, by far, is the most time-intensive part of this project, and that is applying the siding and roofing. For this, again, I'm using my good old cereal boxes, and I'm cutting really long strips that are about like 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm using the longest pieces to outline each segment of the house. I am, for the most part, wanting things to be pretty lined up, but every once in a while I'm adding a regularity to make this look like an old home, a home that's been around for some time, but it's not like abandoned and falling apart entirely. One of my biggest goals with this project is that I wanted it to feel very haunted. I wanted it to feel eerie, but I still wanted it to look beautiful. I didn't want it to look like it was gonna collapse. I spent so much time cutting out all of these little individual shinglings. I tried to make a scalloped edge and do layers of scalloped, like trim, because I had seen in a lot of reference pictures with Victorian homes that a lot of times it's just like one continuous piece. But since I was just freehanding everything, that proved to be more difficult for me. So I had this fish scale pattern and layout going on instead. When I got to some places like this tower area, I had to measure and trim these roof pieces to fit just right. After I'd finished all the roofing, I always test things first in one section to make sure that I like a method before I proceed to do it everywhere. And so I usually test on the back of my structures, because if I do something I don't like, it's not going to be seen. And I found that doing the shingling first and then lining it with the strips is a better method of doing it, so that all the edges are pretty seamless. All these windows are different sizes and different locations, so I felt like they had to have their own unique trim around them. I did this process basically by taking a piece of cardboard and tracing out the type of window that I was working on. And then I looked at some reference pictures for what different window trims looked like and just used that template to sketch around it. And for most of these windows I had 2 layers just to add a little bit of three-dimensionality to them. For this part, I'm using just a good old like Elmer's glue. I find it to be a lot easier than hot glue, since hot glue has a lot of three-dimensionality to it, and I wanted this to lay flat. After these pieces have dried and I've stuck them together, I am just putting it onto a piece of acetate. I did this with my witch's cottage last year and found that it is a pretty decent solution for making windows. Now, there is a problem and a mistake that I made here, and that is, and I was talking about this earlier, but again, there's just a lot of learning, is that since there are so many windows on so many different sides, I didn't think that the backing of these boxes would be seen from other windows, so I actually had to tear these off the acetate later on, remove the colorful backing, paint it a neutral color, the same color that I painted the inside of the structure already, and then I actually took really tiny little strips, removed again the color backing, and painted the very edge so that you couldn't see like the inside of the cardboard. Hopefully I explained that semi-decently. Before I go ahead and glue the windows, after I've done all of the refinishing, I am taking a pencil and marking where I want it to be. I just want to make sure everything's lined up perfectly before I go ahead and glue it. Now the door, I knew I was going to have a porch, so I thought that the door wouldn't be the most important thing, so I opted for a very simple design for that. Now, confession, since I was talking about how I test everything on the back, I tried like 5 different color schemes. I painted this thing over so many times because I could not decide on something. I wanted it to be black, and the black felt too harsh, and so I went with like a purple, and then I thought that I like brown, and then I tried white, and then after I did the white, I was like, okay, I feel the dark color again, and I started to just brush on a gray, and that was the result that I actually fell in love with. So I went ahead and primed the whole house with white. I used a little bit of brown just to add a little bit of warmth and dimension under, you know, little pieces that I wanted to have a more sunken in look. And then I did a very dry brush effect with a darker gray. This way, some of that white kind of pops through. It looks like worn paint. And then for the foundation pieces, I'm really almost buffing in this acrylic paint to almost give like a very textural look that hopefully mimics concrete. And I also took as much time as I needed to make sure that all my lines were incredibly crisp. Also, if you see any bright lights, I have these glasses that I bought, I think last year, and they're the best things ever. They have a light that's very bright, and you can actually have like little magnifying attachments onto them. But my house is so dark, and this makes it possible for me to knit, to cross stitch, doing a project like this. Even during the daytime, getting to see all those crevices, I'm able to see everything illuminated, and it is just the coolest tool. I'm moving on to building my porch, so I am just doing a bunch of measurements, building up a box. I am then taking more strips of that softer cardboard or thinner cardboard and creating a wooden floor look. Now I am also using these, they're not toothpicks. I did use toothpicks for the smaller posts of the porch railing, but then I got these like thicker skewers for like $1 at Walmart, I think. And honestly, that's the only other thing that I bought. So this whole project is done with recycled materials, cardboard, cereal boxes. The only other expense, I think, was just the hot glue gun and glue sticks. At this point, I had totally forgotten that I absolutely need to have a chimney, so I built a really quick little chimney, cut some of those long strips that I just had left over into little pieces to create bricks. I'm going ahead and making a staircase for the porch. I like to do this just by cutting thin strips all together, and then once I've gotten the front of the staircase, I just put a bunch of glue on the sides and smack it on a piece of cardboard and cut around it, and I find that to be easier than having it be all perfect. If it's a little lopsided, I don't care, and I think that's a really good benefit of creating something that's haunted, that if there's some sort of imperfection or something doesn't line up perfectly, it's very forgiving because it just lends to the overall aesthetic that you're trying to go for it. It's not supposed to be something that's meticulously perfect anyway. I also really wanted to construct this porch so that I didn't put on the top until the very end, but the way that it was built, it kind of needed to be in place, and that made painting the very inside crevices of it something that, again, took a very, very long time. Now that my house is complete, I am going to do just the very last finishing touches to add a little bit more ambiance and context to the structure. Now, with my board that I had already cut to size from the very beginning, I like to create a more organic shape with it. I just soften some of the edges just because I feel like a very rigid cardboard is a little rough. I wanted to build a raw iron gate, something very simple. I'm using those very thin dowel rods again, and some skewers for the little spiky points. And for this, I think I talked about this a little bit with my witch's cottage video, but You just have to use a lot of hot glue and hold things in place because you need the hot glue to dry. And usually those dry really, really quickly when you're using a small amount, but when you're putting a bunch of a glob of it, which is what you need when you want something a little bit bigger to stand up like that, it's going to take a little while. I also made these little like stone pathway pieces. My name is escaping me. And I decided I didn't like them. Again, I go more in depth on how I make those in my witch's cottage video, and instead I decided just to use them as like a lining for the pathway, and then use a bunch of the bricks that I had left over and little strips that I had left over for a little brick pathway. I kind of used natural colors of the cardboard to dictate the different tones of the bricks. I went outside and got a couple branches for little trees, and actually picked up some of the fall trees that are falling in my area, and I cut them up kind of like confetti, like just to make some fake fall leaves. I suppose the only other thing that I did buy was some moss, and I think this was about $3, but you can honestly get really creative. I know last year I used gravel, sand, coffee grounds. There's cool things you can use. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still around at this point, before we get into the reveal, leave me a little bat emoji in the comment section, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Bye for now.